Parents gave all their money to my sister's wedding and didn't bother with mine, so I cut them out. Now they're upset they weren't invited to my wedding. My parents gave birth to only 2 children, my sister, 22 female, and I, 27 female. I don't know what I did, but since the day my sister was born I became almost invisible. She was the child that everyone got attached to and wanted to play with. I, on the other hand, was more withdrawn and antisocial. I liked my space right from my younger years. My sister always got what she wanted and I had to get what my parents felt I needed, plus I wouldn't go to them in the first place, but whenever I did I rarely got a positive answer, and because of that I started to slowly dislike my sister. We were so different from each other. In high school, I was the nerd and she was the popular kid. Most people didn't believe that we were related, and sometimes she said that I embarrassed her. That hurt me a lot. My sister had no trouble making friends or socializing whenever we got to a new place, while I would have to get comfortable first. I was also less likely to be the one to approach someone to speak. I had talents, but I was usually very shy, so only my close friends, who were very few, knew me. My best friend, male 27, who was socially awkward like I was, always assured me that I was an amazing person. His experience was different from mine because his parents adored him, so he didn't have personality issues like I did. I was always anxious and found it hard to trust people because I thought they wouldn't see me for who I truly was and they would treat me like my family did. I had a really hard time during my formative years, and my only voice of reasoning was my best friend. We were both kids, and had he known better he would have known how to help me. You could imagine a teenager with an identity crisis growing up into an adult. That is a recipe for disaster. Now that I look back, I cringe at the things I did to get attention and please people, things that were the direct opposite of who I was and what I stood for, because I wasn't comfortable in my skin. My sister, on the other hand, was blossoming and she kept being the golden child. At the time I didn't think that my parents knew what they did to me and how their actions affected me, but I still blamed them for not being there for me. Someone could have noticed that something was up with me, but they were lost in the clouds with their baby, my sister. Years passed and we kept growing apart. I wasn't close to my sister, and the reason is obvious. I was angry at my parents and more jealous of her. I thought that she should have noticed that she got all the attention and could have channeled some to me, or at least said something to our parents. Instead, she loved the attention and laughed at me with her friends. Well, my nerdiness turned out to be in my favor because I got a full-ride scholarship and excelled in my academics and professional career. Last year the golden child got married, and you can imagine my parents paid for everything, including her honeymoon. My mom said they were going all out with my sister's wedding because they were worried I wouldn't get married, so if this was the only wedding they were going to have, they were going to go all out for it. That didn't even hurt because I had a boyfriend. Before then, I wasn't ready for marriage or any relationship because I wanted to fix myself first and begin to love myself, because I realized I couldn't love someone else if I didn't love myself. I couldn't get to know someone and care for them if I didn't know who I was and cared for myself. After I was successful with it, I met my fiancé. I told him my story and he seemed to even love me the more, despite all the mistakes I made trying to fit in. I love him. I love him with all my heart, and I am thankful to him for showing me what love is and how to love. He helped me come out of my shell, and now I don't hold back on anything. I know who I am and I love me. Update 1. When I got engaged, I went to my parents' house to inform them. They didn't seem as excited as they were for my sister, but that no longer bothered me. They congratulated me and then mentioned that they had spent all their money on my sister's wedding last year and couldn't contribute to mine, plus they didn't know I was in any serious relationship. That was where I snapped, but I said nothing to them. I no longer thought that they didn't know that they were hurting me because they did this over and over again and expected me to understand. When I got home, I ripped the invitation cards I had reserved for them and my sister. When they asked for the date of the wedding and venue, I changed the subject. I think my sister saw my wedding on social media and she told my parents. They were furious that neither of them knew my wedding date or were even invited to it. I replied saying that space was limited, so only the most important people were invited. That worsened the situation, but I was just being brutally honest. I didn't consider them as the most important people in my life, and the wedding was a small one, so I wanted to have the most important people around me. Though I can admit that I also wanted to spite them too, if I'm being totally honest. Update 2. I didn't care that they were angry at me. It wouldn't be the first time, but they didn't seem to let this one slide. My mom and sister found my new house. I moved in with my husband, and came to scold me. I call it that because I don't think they intended to have a civil conversation, because all they did was scream at me, so I asked them to leave and they shouldn't come back, except they wanted to behave like civilized human beings. I left them and went to my room and locked the door behind me. I came out a few hours later and saw that they had met my husband and he asked them to wait for me. I was upset that he asked them to wait because I didn't want to talk to them at all. I knew he did it because he had always wanted me to make up with my family. He said that if I could do that, then I would heal completely. He also didn't like how I got when my family came up, so he wanted me to be comfortable and completely happy. I understood him, but I was being stubborn. My mom started to scold me again, and then my husband stepped in and cautioned her. He told her that the only reason he asked them to stay was because he knew it was the right thing to do, but if she didn't behave properly, she and my sister would have to leave and he wouldn't try to get us to talk again. My mom knew he wasn't joking, so she calmed down. I told them that if they really wanted to talk, then the whole family had to be present, and Dad was missing, so it was either he came now or we spoke at a later time. They left because Dad couldn't make it that day. Update 3, they returned during the weekend, this time with my dad. He was more disappointed than angry that he didn't attend my wedding. I told him that he had no right to be because he was never there for me. They always neglected me and made me feel like there was something wrong, and my younger sister was the standard. I always had to sacrifice for her. They had no idea how much that affected me. I struggled so much and was anxious all the time. I didn't know how to speak up for myself and have a mind of my own because I thought I shouldn't have a say. They also taught my sister to treat me badly, and they never corrected her. And this was confirmed at her wedding. They paid for it in full, and Mom even commented that they did that because they were not sure I was going to get married. They were always insensitive to the way I felt and made me feel like I didn't deserve to be a part of the family. It wasn't just my sister's wedding, but how they treated me since she was born. At some point I craved their attention, but I never got it because my sister had all of it. I gave them specific instances of how they treated me differently and how it made me feel. All of that constituted to them no being invited to my wedding. I didn't think I needed people who constantly caused me pain on one of the happiest days of my life. I also let my sister know how I felt about her and about the way she treated me. They felt ashamed and apologized. My sister said that she did that because she was jealous of me. I was stunned. What could she have been jealous of? She said that she wasn't so smart and I always did well at school, and because we were not close she didn't know how to ask me for help, and it made her mad, so she treated me badly. That was news to me because I would have gladly helped her even if it was just to cultivate a healthy relationship with her. We all cried and made up. My husband was so glad. After they left, he told me that I was finally free of hurt and pain, and now I could truly live. 16 female, mom died from cancer. My dad got remarried to another person and ended up having more kids. It was really hard on me, but I tried, and am still trying, to be supportive because I guess he can replace his wife because people do that all the time, but I can't replace my mom. I am not going to lie, it was very difficult to see her in my mom's bed and using the cups my mom drank from, etc., even though it's been a few years. It hurts my feelings when she participates in traditions my mom had with us because I personally don't think she has a right, but I also don't like celebrating any of her traditions and going to see her family, which I guess makes it hard. I don't say anything about these things because what's the point? My dad's whole personality is different since he married her and had more kids, so I have accepted I don't have my dad either and have a countdown app on my phone for when I turn 18, so it feels like there is an end in sight. My dad and his wife are not abusive in any way, but I still prefer to go elsewhere and don't consider myself part of the family, and slowly coming to terms with the fact that my dad did replace my mom and me, but that it's okay because he still loves me. It makes me really depressed to be around their kids because, please don't think I am mean to say this, siblings go through things together, and the worst things that have happened to me are things they don't know: mom dying, dad changing, dad getting remarried, etc. I told my dad and his wife that I would be very uncomfortable if the kids they had together grew up not knowing that I had a mom who died, and that was my deal breaker. I called my stepmom by her first name, and my half-brother asked why I don't call her mom, and my half-sister said, "Yeah, she is your mom," when I told them that my mom was dead and their mom isn't my mom. My stepmom did explain to them again, and I get that they are young, but they have been told so many times. I ended up just leaving and driving to my grandma's, mom's mom, and texted my dad I would be there. My dad and his wife kept calling me and texting, but I just turned off my phone and took a nap. My dad ended up coming to my grandma's, but I refused to see him. My stepmom stopped by today too. So now I would like to know if I am being an asshole. I would like to tell my dad that he failed as a dad and a husband because he still is my dad and will always be my mom's husband, and to tell my stepmom that her presence makes me depressed, but that would make me an a-hole. Edit, my dad is here and I will speak to him if he promises to choose me. Edit 2, too sad to go to school again, and my stepmom asked to have a girls' day and I said okay, and I promise everyone here I'll try to have a good time and try to not feel so sad. I know the title seems bad, and it probably is, but I don't know what else to do. My wife, 28 female, and I, 33 male, have 2 children, A, female 2, and B, 4 male, whom we both love more than anything. Last year I found out I also have another daughter, C, 13 female, her mother never told me about her. I don't blame her, ours was just a weak relationship and she lives in another town. She went back to her town before finding out she is pregnant, and she decided that it was best for her to raise the child by herself. 5 years ago I met my wife and I fell in love with her on the spot. I know it's a cliche, but it's the truth. I would give my life for her in a heartbeat. We found out about my other daughter a year ago and she is now 12 years old, and honestly, I tried so hard to love her like I love my other 2 kids, but I can't. My wife obviously wasn't too happy to have a stepdaughter out of the blue, but she acted very gracefully and never stopped me from having a relationship with her. C came to our house a few times, but she always argued with my kids. Normally, I wouldn't think much of it, because even when they meet their cousins, one minute they argue and the next they're inseparable. But C is the one that mostly starts everything. As a family, we love spending weekend evenings watching movies together on the sofa. C constantly complained that the movies were for small children and she hated them. She would make comments like "this character will die" or "this character is stupid." My younger daughter will start crying because she is 2 and will cuddle with me, and that would make C even more awful to her. She destroyed so many dolls, saying that she didn't get to have dolls, why should A and B have them? Her mom was barely making ends meet and we are pretty wealthy, and yes, I pay CS and I paid for the years I didn't knew about her too. Many comments and actions made my wife pretty angry, and she told me that unless C goes to therapy, she is not allowed around our kids again. And if she comes to the house, she takes her kids and will go to her mom's for the days C stays here. This is the part that will make me an a-hole.
I don't love C, I don't like spending time with her, and I definitely don't want to lose my family for her.
I know it sounds awful, and I really tried so hard to feel differently, but I can't. I told her mom about the therapy, and she started accusing my wife, saying that she just wants to destroy my relationship with C and she is an awful stepmother. I told her that if she won't put C in therapy, I'm no longer willing to put up with her, and I won't, under any circumstances, risk losing my family for her. She called me a lot of names, said I'm an a-hole and how could I put my wife over C?